Hi, my name is Nonti Manzini, and this is my Python coding, my three exercises that I made. So I used this site called Replit and used Python to code and print a few things. We learned some print statements, variables and data types, if, else, and else statements, operators, while loops, and for loops. I'm just going to show you the more complex assignments that we did. So our first one is our amusement park. Let's see, it wants to run. Alright, so it says, welcome to Jungle Joe's amusement park. Let's see if you're old enough and tall enough to ride the Wild Bill's Crazy Coaster. For this video, I'm just going to say I'm 11. I'm actually not 11. And how tall I am, I'm going to say that I'm 41 inches. I'm not 41 inches. So it says, sorry, you have to come back in 1 year or years. And I'll divulge into why it says what it says, why it's saying that. So for this one, I'm just going to write the wave pool, welcome to Jurassic water park. Let's see if we can go to the wave pool. So it says, can you swim? I'm just going to write no. And do you have a life jacket? Nope. So sorry, you either have to learn to swim or get a life jacket. So I'm going to show you why it's saying that and how to fix that real quick. So by using single line comments, the first part was to determine if we were old enough and tall enough to ride that roller coaster, and how many years away are we from, or how many inches are we from riding the coaster. So we would use arithmetic, comparison, and logical operators. That was the first part of that was the whole the roller coaster. For the second part, we'll return if we're able to go into the wave pool by asking if you can swim or if you have a life jacket, using comparison and logical operators. So by using pseudocode and a single line comment, we're just kind of just going in order of what we need to do to make sure that it's in order of everything. So I have to ask how old they are, how tall they are, determine that, what's the requirement for it, and then ask the users. Then if they are old enough and if they are tall enough, then it'll print a certain statement. And if they are not tall enough or if they are not old enough, print a certain statement. So then it would let the users know how many years they have to grow or how many inches they need to grow before riding the coaster. So first we want to print this like a welcoming statement and a question to kind of let them know. So by using our variable min age, we set a known value of that 12 was our min age. So 12 years, you can either be 12 or greater than that. I'll go into using our different operands. I made another variable named height. That is our minimum height. And by using another variable age, integer and input, we want to make sure that our integer and our string line up. So that are using that integer and asking them how old they are. So by using the comparison operand, greater than or equal to, we want to make sure that our age, is either 12 or greater than 12. So old enough equals the age is either greater than or equal to the minimum of the age. So if you are 12, you're allowed to go in. That's part of the deal. And making sure that our height is greater than or equal to our minimum height. So you can either be 40 inches or greater than 48 inches. So for tall enough, we want to make sure that we're not less than 48 inches. So can ride coasters, our variable equals old enough and tall enough. By using and, old enough isn't complete. It's not going to be true unless old enough and tall enough are true. So by using an if statement, we'll print this statement if it is true. And if it's not true, for old enough, it'll print a certain statement. If it's not true, for tall enough, then it'll print a certain statement. That was just basically the amusement park. So for the Jurassic Water Park, basically we'll be using almost the same thing, but asking the users if they have what they need to have by using comparison and logical operators. So our variable will first print this to kind of say, hey, welcoming them in, and then asking them, hey, can you swim, by using the can swim variable. And dot lower is just to make sure that, hey, if they write, for example, uppercase Y and lowercase es for yes, it's still going to count it, or like all lowercase or any of that. It's just going to make sure that all options are available, and it'll still count as no or yes. So then it'll ask if you have a life jacket, yes or no. So that as you're adding that, dot lower is going to ensure that, whatever answer they gave, hey, they might put a capital O but lowercase n. It's just going to ensure that it stays true. It's not going to like hinder the program. So be using user can swim equals can swim double equals. So that double equal sign is going to determine if the values of two objects are equal, while it determines if they are the same object. So I'm just going to make sure that these have a double equal, so it's that quotation mark yes. And if they have left is equal to that variable, then it'll be double yes. So we want to determine if the patron can enter the water park by using the variables and using or as our operand. That's gonna say if you can swim, but you don't have a life jacket, you'll be fine. If you can't swim, or you have a life jacket, then you can still get into it. But if you have neither, you can get into it full. So that was kind of that script for that part. And then you'd print the if and else. So you either have to swim or get a life jacket. So if you get a life jacket, you'll be able to get into the wave pool. I think that was for that one. It's a little bit simpler, more complex when I first did it, but it kind of got easier to understand. So for my guess my number, this was a pretty simple one too, and this one was guess my secret number between 1 and 10. So I'm just gonna guess random numbers. So 6, no, you didn't guess my secret number. Guess again. 5, 3, 9, 10, 1, 8, 7. Yay, I did it. I guessed the secret number. How did I do that? So going to their files, main.py, using our pseudocode, kind of, again enforcing what are we going to do in the order we're going to do it. So we have this known value as 7. Our secret number is 7. So we have to guess using our variable guess and input that we're trying to guess the secret number. We're not trying to give them the secret number. They're going to guess it. So by using a while loop, and I kind of briefly talked a little bit about this. So while loops are going to keep going until it has a reason to stop. It just keeps going in a circle. So while loops guess, this is another operand we talked briefly about, and it kind of is just like equality operators. So it just tells if the two variables went to the same object in memory. So these point to the same thing. So the secret number, we add a colon space, printing this. And then when they guess it, when that known value is guessed, then it'll print this. So the while loop will continue to go until this is guessed. So that's why we added that secret number variable. So that was just a really simple one too. Kind of got me into the use of while loops. So first it would just either keep going or So moving on to the next one with for loops, and this one's our average test scores. And how many tests would you like to average? And I'm gonna say 4. So enter a score. Let's do 79.8. Let's do 45, 32, and 99.99. Choose that. So the average of our 4 tests is 64.2%. So we kind of know how averages work. You add up all those numbers and divide by 4, in this case by the number of tests there are. So our total would be 0. So asking our users how many tests we like to average, would use that variable number test average. Print this is our for loop. For I in range, number of tests average. So this is our using our variables and our range, and using a float. A float is to instead of using rather an integer, float is if it's a percentage, if it's a decimal. Float in Python is called decimal, basically. So if I have a decimal of like 59.7, the program won't freak out. So I can enter a score and it can be something like 59.7. So our total is going to equal the total plus the test score. So the average, is now showing our average. What our average is going to be is the total divided by the number of tests to average. So the number of tests to average, once we ask this question, we get that known value of the number of tests to average. So then we're going to print the average of our number of tests to average, which we'll now know. That will be the average. We'll now know that is, then we round it by using our round variable, and then the average, and then